There's an old Yoruba saying that goes something to the effect of they're praying against you in your village. And that is how I felt leading up to the filming of this episode. Many things have gone wrong. My phone dropped in water. I had to put it in rice. Charger, nowhere to be found. I had to go to my local bar to ask if they could charge it for me. Pen, which is part of my favorite things segment, mysteriously missing. It was here but 30 minutes ago. I have no idea where it could have gone, but it is gone. It is not here. This is a different pen. An inferior pen. But we move. Hi, I'm Mary, and welcome to The Mary Show. This is the show for multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate creatives, a show where I follow my many passions as a way to encourage you to do the same. Let us get into the recap. So, as we know, for Q1, I am working on this project called Gist. Now, what is Gist? I don't know if I've thoroughly explained it. Gist is a way to use the internet without having to look at a screen. What about Siri? Why not just talk to Alexa? Because I want you to not have to engage with infinitely accessible technology at all. Gist is a way to bound all of the now necessary tools that we need via the internet and deliver them to you in a way that is constricted, that respects your attention, that does not encourage you to endlessly click and scroll, and even if it feels good learning in the moment, steal our dopamine and make us unable to actually do the things that are most important because we're focused on doing the things that are easiest and most immediate. So, the quarter is almost over, as we know, and it is about time to wrap up Gist. I have created something I'm pretty excited about, a public Jira board. I use Jira just because I've always used Jira, in the same way that you would call a tissue a Kleenex, but it's actually not on Jira, it's on Notion. But it is a Kanban style, is that how you pronounce that? Kanban? To do, doing, done type of board. That anyone can follow along, and I actually made it so that anyone can comment if they have thoughts, questions, concerns, etc. And so I'll link that in the comments below, but I think it'll be a great way for us to feel like we're building together as a team. We've made some structural changes to the show. As you can see, the setup is a little bit different. I'm sitting at a table, I have a pen in my hand, it's very serious. And we thought it would be a good idea to and then we're gonna start posting Sunday night so that it could be a Monday morning. Think of this as stand-up, but in a fun way, if anyone's been part of a tech company. This is our group morning stand-up. This is our recap of what is happening. And with the Jira board, it'll be a good way to kind of follow along on the progress of whichever project I am doing for that given quarter. Keeps me accountable, keeps everyone else interested, and for you guys, who I'm sure have projects and ideas of your own, it's a great way to model just sort of how one takes a project from idea, puts it into little pieces. Right now we're doing a tech project, so it's a great model for a tech project, but soon, next quarter, we'll be working on the collection of essays, and so we'll be able to see how I break up the essay collection into different bite-sized to-do chunks. Spoiler, it is probably going to have something to do. It's going to be essay by essay, most likely. But what does it look like to go from shitty rough draft, shout out Anne Lamont, bird by bird. Sorry, my cat opened a door and I was like, is she leaving? It was the bathroom door. Shitty first drafts to slightly shittier second, third, and fourth drafts to something that you would feel comfortable sharing with others. So I'm very excited to move into Q2, but it's not Q2, it's Q1. So where with Gist? In the Kanban board, which I will maybe display depending on how my editing skills want to be surfaced. There's a lot that's done, which is exciting. And right now I'm working on the development pipeline and updating security. And between this week and next, by next week, I do want to be done. I do want to have shared it with friends and family and begun to get initial feedback. And so the next steps there are integrating the fax pipeline. And so, yes, I will be purchasing a fax machine. Did I actually finish saying what Gist is? And so essentially what it is that it pulls in all the things that you would look at in the morning on your phone, but instead it pulls it into a morning Gist, and then it prints it for you via a fax-enabled printer so that you can have your own kind of personal briefing, personal newspaper, let's call it, with your emails, your calendar events, the news that you care about, messages that you might have to respond to, and the weather in your area, and sort of just like a little summary to kind of get you motivated for the day. And so I thought it would be nice to wake up with this briefing in my hands, piece of paper that I can mock up. But the real exciting bit is to be able to mock that piece of paper up and then mail it back, fax it back, and get some cool responses. And so that is what we're working on. Everyone keeps making fun of me because they're like, why do you have a fax machine? Why are you getting a fax machine? Look, it's the only protocol that allows a printer to print without you actually pressing print, as far as I know. And I like the idea of bringing it back. I think it's cool. Who would have thought that vinyls would have come back? Who would have thought? I'm like looking at my iPod Classic right over there. I just saw an ad for iPod Shuffles in the subway. Like, these things are coming back because we're all feeling so overwhelmed. Our attention is being fragmented in so many different ways, and it's not sustainable. It's not good. So this is my small way of contributing to the solution to that problem. And in the next couple weeks, I will be sharing it for the viewers of this channel to try it for free and let me know what you think. And so I'm super duper very excited about that, and excited to be moving forward, and excited for the show. Welcome to the Mary Show. The show has become like more of a thing and will continue to be more of a thing. And so I'm feeling awesome about that. That is mostly the recap. All right, now we're moving into the deep dive. This is a new section that we're beginning where we deep dive into some random thing that I've been learning about or thinking about that I think might be interesting to all of you. And today's deep dive is on polymathery. I said that to someone, a friend, and they were like, I've never heard anyone use the word polymathery, but I do not believe I brought it up. Also, context clues, polymaths, what it means to be a polymath. This is a show for people who are interested in multiple different things. This year, the projects that I'm doing span tech projects, writing projects, and then sort of like beauty adjacent other tech products. So it's tech products and writing projects, but I've been going to dance class. I'm in an acting class. I have dibbled and dabbled in making pottery, in painting. Like, there's some little oil pastels that I have around my apartment, and I've fought with my friends around whether those are paintings or not paintings. I choose to claim them as paintings, okay, because the oil pastel was kind of pioneered by Da Vinci, who was what? A painter. Not Da Vinci, Van Gogh, who was what? A painter. But we will be talking about Da Vinci today because we will be talking about two of my favorite polymaths, Leonardo da Vinci and Benjamin Franklin. I think that we have all, we sleep on Benjamin Franklin. I think that we don't think about him enough nearly for what he did. And then I will be discussing more things that I've learned around polymathery and its place in our current times, because I think that the polymath, it's time for us to reign. I feel like we have been put under the bucket of neurodivergence, which I claim, okay, we are neurodivergent over on this channel. Neurotypical, what? Could never. Couldn't be me. Focus on one thing at a time. How? How will I possibly invent the things that I meant to invent? How will I possibly see all the connections? How will I be that guy in that meme with the strings going back and forth, really seeing the thing that no one else wants to see, really opening my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, why only three, opening all the eyes, okay? If I'm neurotypical, if I'm not like, ooh, squirrel, you know what I mean? The world is to some extent, I think, really carried on the backs of the neurodivergence, because we are the ones who see things, we create things, we invent things, and that's exactly what I want to talk about today. First, Leonardo DiCaprio. Da Vinci. Leonardo is just such a beautiful name. Leonardo, you know what I mean? Okay, Leonardo DiCaprio, obviously we know him as the painter of the Mona Lisa, the giver of that smile, okay? But what we don't know is, well, we might know, but what I do want to discuss is all of the very many different things and different interests that it took for him to get there, because he was famously very into anatomy, so much so that he made discoveries in the realm of anatomy, he made discoveries in the realm of engineering, he was designing flight machines that could not have possibly existed in this time because the technology didn't exist at the time, but which further engineers would look back on things that Leonardo created that, you know, they were like, how could he even have known this? He was so into just like paying attention. His whole thing was just watching things so closely. He was able to design those flight machines by paying so much attention to the flight of birds. His ability to draw translated into these gorgeous, gorgeous notebooks full of machinations, like machine drawings, but also images of the body. He would dissect like recently dead cadavers to just learn what was going on. He really made a lot of leaps in terms of understanding aging, because it was believed that, you know, a cause had to make you die, and he was like, no, like how does just like a relatively healthy old person just die? What is it that makes them die? And he kind of discovered what it was that made them die by just looking at the arteries, and actually compared it to like a river, because he was also designing riverways and waterways. And this is why the everything is everything mentality, shout out to Lauryn Hill, is so important to our society, because there's the people that think everything is everything that are able to make those connections, because everything truly is everything. And through studying waterways, and actually designed like waterways for the cities that he was in, be it Florence or Milan, I want to say were his two main cities, compared the human blood system, like our arteries and our veins, to waterways, in the sense that silt builds up on the side of those waterways, and you can have an old person where there's nothing wrong, it's just the natural course of events where silt kind of builds up and the waterways constrict, and then that leads to you know, the do not go gentle in that good night, rage against the dying of the light, how, you know, and so it leads into that good night. Deaths just seemed like a bit of a harsh word to say. What else did Leonardo do? Sculpting, obviously, stage design. He designed a lot of very interesting stages for plays, and was able to kind of use his sort of engineer brain in that artistic realm. And he's somebody that we continue to talk about to this day, because we love polymaths. All right, Benjamin Franklin. I have been a big Franklin head ever since reading his autobiography a couple years ago and doing a lot of research. I think when I became a founder for the first time, I just got very into like learning about other founders and other sort of great people, let us say, like people who've been able to accomplish a lot. And his autobiography, I think, is a fantastic read. I think it's funny. I think he was honestly a funny person. Who was Benjamin Franklin? He was a printer, first and foremost. He began his career by printing newspapers, running a printing press. And he also published anonymously a periodical, let's call it, called Poor Richard's Almanac. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. That was Benjamin Franklin. He was spitting bars, okay? He's right, that slaps. Another funny thing, though, was that he was very social and fun, and by the end of his life, he was the ambassador to France, and he was living it up as the U.S. ambassador to France, in France, with all of the courtesans, like, out here, raging till the end of the night. James Madison, who was such a jealous hater, there's a quote that I find very funny, where he says of Benjamin Franklin, "Is this the man that said early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise?" Because I'm not seeing that, because by the end of his life, he was late to bed, maybe late to rise, who knows, but he was living it up. But he earned it, because not a day goes by if you live in America that you do not interact with something that Benjamin Franklin had a direct hand in. The public library he had a big hand in that. The fire department being created, he had a big hand in that. The post office, he designed the initial postal routes, he had a big hand in that. My brother went to UPenn, but the University of Pennsylvania, which gave us a lot of crazies, I will say. There are some certain people who are maybe the head of our government who came, obviously Donald Trump went to Wharton, so I think that's minus 10 points for Benjamin Franklin on that front, obviously, but you can't say there wasn't impact. The lightning rod, okay? At the time, churches were often the largest building in an area, and they were getting struck by lightning, and it was considered a message from God, basically, like an indictment of that church. If that church was struck by lightning, it meant that pastor was fucking around doing all sorts of whatever. Can you say that F word on YouTube? I don't know. We'll maybe bleep it. That pastor was not preaching the good word as he, and at the time it was a he, as he was supposed to. Benjamin Franklin, on the other hand, said, okay, this is a problem that needs to be solved. And that is where I think polymaths, people who are interested in multiple different things, become so important to our society, because we are the ones who are like, no, this is a problem. Like, this reminds me of something else. Like, nothing ever just is what it is. Something always the thing always leads to another thing. And when the thing leads to another thing, when there are no dead ends in your mind, when every node in the graph is actually, you know, always has children, always leads to another point, then your brain is free ranging and you can solve problems because you never can't think of another thing to try. Like, I would always say this with engineering. I love debugging. I actually love when it's like, this doesn't work. How do we get it to work? Because that's when my brain turns on. That's when I get most excited. If I know how to do something, I'm not interested. But it's when I don't know how to do something that I'm like, what about this? What about that? What about that? And I think that my skill in debugging comes from the fact that I can always think of something else to try. And I think if you are divergent, if you have if you are divergent, if you are neurodivergent, if you have multiple interests, if you feel like everything is connected, please study these polymaths, because they will make you feel seen as they've made me feel seen, and as I'm trying to share it with you so that we all can bask in the glow of feeling like we belong in this world, because that's such a big part of us then taking the next steps to maybe do what it is that we were sent here to do, which is what I want for everyone watching this channel. Okay. He said, back to the lightning, he said, this is a problem and there is a solution. And through that, did he discover electricity? Through that, did what he did to realize that it's because they were the tallest building, and that electricity needs, as it comes down, it needs a place to go, it needs something to conduct it, otherwise it will just hit the thing that it reaches first. And so created the lightning rod to put on the top of the tallest buildings nearby, so that when lightning strikes, it will hit that rod, it will be conducted, it will be fine. And famously, he did not charge for this invention. He said, this is a public good. Also, he was like, I don't need your money, please. He's on the $100 bill for a reason, okay? By the end of his life, he was paid up. He put that lightning rod on there, and now we're fine. Bifocals, okay? The idea of like you're near and farsighted, you need two different lenses, you need to look down for this, you need to look up for that. I should be wearing my glasses also. Bifocals, he also gave us, I don't know. There's more that I could say, but I just really think Benjamin Franklin was cool. Which is an embarrassing, nerdy take. Caveat, okay? No one fell out of a coconut tree. Everyone lives in the context of the time that they were in. And that does not say, just because and this is going forward, just because I might like something about a person does not mean I condone everything about their character. And Benjamin Franklin is a great example of this. I'm more interested in what can we learn? What is interesting to me? What is useful to me? What might be useful to you? Not on making anyone an idol and say that everything they ever did was amazing. I just think that anyone who is able to have success in multiple domains, as he did in business, in writing, in the sciences, in the social sciences of engineering and diplomacy, in statecraft, in you know, education, anyone who can have success in these multiple domains, I'm interested in learning in, because I think there's a lot to be learned. I've been thinking a lot about now to make a pivot, a hard pivot, but not so hard of a pivot, because we're still talking, I'm like a mile a minute, but whatever. I'm talking so much to make the connection. Again, thinking a lot about Tiana Taylor, about somebody who, you know, I first came to know when watching her in My Super Sweet 16. And you could already tell this woman, this girl at the time, is born to be a star. Listening to her music, watching her, you know, in different shows, seeing her dancing, seeing her choreographing, and then now seeing her going on to win these awards for these major acting roles. She is somebody who has excelled in many domains, and it's beautiful to see. In my research too, I'll close with this, on polymaths, I'm reading this book called The Polymath by I will put the name, the name is escaping me and I don't want to mispronounce it. Wakil Sadiq, I want to say, Wakad Sadiq, something like that. I'm like, I don't want to pronounce it, goes on to butcher it, but I do want to just like say it so that, you know, when I find the actual name, I can put it in. He opens it by discussing a polymath who, you know, he presents as, she was Black, she was a woman. She was involved in civil rights. She worked with both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. She became a journalist. She learned many languages and was known as like premier scholar on West African languages at one point. She has written award-nominated screenplays. Was Tony nominated. Was a calypso dancer. Wrote over 30 books. I'm trying to think if there were any other things that are escaping me. But ultimately, we know her for the memoir she wrote, which became incredibly famous, which we still cite today and is often quoted at anything from Michael Jackson's death to presidential inaugurations. Who is this gem, this star, this glittering paragon of body and in terms of movement and writing in terms of writing, but also film and cinema and stage and diplomacy and languages and journalism and all these things. Who is it? Maya Angelou, okay? And I was shocked, maybe most people know this, but obviously I know Where the Caged Bird Sings. I did not know she did all these other things. And what's interesting too about my deep dive into the polymath, and what I loved about this book and that he opened up with this, is that we really think of this kind of like white male genius as the archetype of the polymath. Obviously it began with Leonardo da Vinci and Benjamin Franklin, but it's so much deeper than that, and polymaths are all around us. And the polymaths of history, I think, are, we're starting to recognize and to remember as the multifaceted geniuses they were, because we are beginning, or not even beginning, but we need to appreciate that level of variance across their skills. Another philosophy of this show, underpinning this show, is the idea that we are in an era of rapid technological change, obviously spurred by AI. And I think that in this era of technological change, what will become more useful or more important, more necessary for the average individuals to actually go back to the way that we were. Polymathery, being interested in many different things, was actually very common and normal, because every human being is a multifaceted human being. There is no one person. There is no person that's only good at or good for one thing. It's actually a product of sort of our capitalism as we've done it up to this point, that required individuals to specialize, to niche down, to make them more productive for whatever firm they worked for. But now that we're in an age of increasing entrepreneurship, increasing side hustlation, increasing autonomy, that idea of going back to our multifaceted nature, I think, is one that is increasingly interesting to a bunch of people, especially even as understanding of neurodivergence is on the rise. And neurodivergence is a funny term to me, because it's like, are we divergent, or are we just normal and for some reason we're just not, what we've considered normal is actually not normal, and the neurodivergent people are just another way that the brain works that is totally normal, if that makes sense. But as we start to understand, I want to do different things. My brain is very associative and connective. I am easily distracted in a way that, yes, on the flip side, it might not be good for me, but on the pro side, it means that I am alive and awake to the wonders all around me. And I'm like, yes, that is a squirrel. And look at its tail. Look at how bushy. Look at the colors. Look at everything. And so, I think now is the time for polymaths. That's the long, big point that I'm trying to make. Now is the time for polymaths. Polymaths unite. Polymaths stand up. Polymaths rage against the machine. For the Creative Corner segment, we will be discussing what creative things I might have engaged in the past week. How am I getting my creative juices flowing? What little creative side quests have I gone on? And as I was thinking about, again, with the goal of inspiring the viewers to go on their own creative side quests. So what have I been doing this week? As I was thinking about what creative side quests I've been going on, I was thinking about the fact that I've been going out a lot. I'm turning 30 this year, and I think that there's a part of me that feels like 30 is the new 20. I think I feel almost younger at 30 than I felt at 27. And it's been nice. It's been a lot of just in the, I don't even want to say the club, the music venue, just at basement, at Public Records, just all through the night. I sound really embarrassing, but I think that there is something to be said for filling the creative well, where you might think that, being out all night or dancing all night or whatever is draining. I found myself more excited, more energized than ever. I find myself kind of in love with life. And last weekend, I just felt like I had my perfect weekend, if that makes sense, creatively, artistically, energetically, New Yorkily. Because I had a friend's birthday party, and she had gotten a table somewhere. We go to the birthday party. I'm living it up, getting, dare I say, a little bit messy. sorry, before the birthday party, let me back up. I forgot that there were levels to this. The Brooklyn Public Library has this yearly annual series called The Library at Night, and it usually happens in the spring. It's around this time of year. They open up the library until, I think last year it was till 4 a.m., but this year it was on Pi Day, so it was until 3:14 a.m., and they just have all of these talks, all of these lectures. They're vending food, they're vending drinks. For some reason, everyone's got a coconut. Like, you heard that right? Like a literal coconut. Like, they're selling coconuts, like they're hacking them for you. Like, I'm sorry, there's something that makes one a little bit feral and crazy when you are in the public library. It's midnight, you're sipping out of a coconut, listening to a talk on this year's topic, the philosophy of math. There were a lot of these incredible talks on the philosophy of mathematics. I listened to one amazing talk about it was definitely like above it was above me a little bit, which I love. I love to be stretched intellectually in that way and be sitting somewhere and being like, I have no idea what people are talking about, but I'm getting into it. But I think our genes, the way our genes move around, we were trying to image them, but now because of AI, like the dynamic image is more interesting than the static image, and that's going to give us like more information about like what our genes can do, bacteria, maybe how they move around, something like that. But I felt very edified, very cool. Anyway, I go from that to my favorite bar. My brother meets me. Actually, my brother was already at okay, Mimi wants to be involved, and we're gonna let her. This is Mimi, and she's part of the mix now. Hey, girly. My brother and I had gone to that lecture together. We go to our favorite bar. His girlfriend comes and meets us. I'm going to my friend's birthday party, so I'm like, let's all pregame. Like, we pregame in my apartment. Like, I sound like I'm in college again. I'm like, pregame, who is she? Pregame in my apartment, grab the Uber, go to the party. I'm like finishing the cut water in the car. Get to the party. I'm with my friends, like, happy birthday. I'm so excited to see her, see all the people that, are there to celebrate her. Like, have a great night. Like, spend the night at her place because, let's just say, there's some things I may not remember. Uber back to her. Like, I wake up in her bed, like, whoa. But Uber back to hers. Have a cute, chummy little sleepover. This is a friend that I've had since we were 7 years old. And so being able to do things like this together just, like, warms my heart and makes me feel so happy because I just think that those people that have been in your life forever, like, are just so important and to be cherished. And so, yeah, like, spend the night at hers, like, wake up, like, her friends come to visit, like, friends come down from Upper Manhattan, we, like, get brunch, like, I get ramen, I'm, like, flirting with the waiter, like, and then after that, go to a lecture because my college, the college that I went to, does this, like, rotating, almost Chautauqua-like series, where they're, like, doing different lectures, like, for the alumni, like, across the country, across the country, and attend these two amazing talks and on, like, morality in our current times. And obviously it was an indictment of the moral leadership that we're seeing right now, but really tying it back to, like, ancient wisdom. We were talking about Confucius and talking about the book of Job and just, like, what it means to like what the story of Job really means. And I grew up in a very religious context, and I'm also an intellectual and a nerd, and I went to in my high school, I went to a private high school, and they made us read the Bible freshman year English, but not as a religious text, as the best-selling book of all time. And that really just shifted my paradigm in the way that I relate to the Bible in and of itself. And so I love when we, like, study these stories as, like, what do they mean? Like, what are they telling us about humanity, the same way that we would study any bit of literature that came out at the time. And so we're talking about the book of Job, but, like, I'm sitting there in the clothes that I was in from the night before, you know what I mean? Like, same outfit that I was, like, at the club in. Obviously, the outfit worked in both locations, let me just say that. Like, it was not like I looked out of place, but just to know within myself that I can have that type of range, that I can be at the library at night, like, sipping on a coconut, that I can then take that to, like, the club, and I'm, like, at the table, that I can then take that to, like, brunch with my friends, that I can then take that to a lecture with alumni of all ages, like, this guy, like, class of 77, like, asking these, like, poignant questions, like, all of us engaging, like, having a little charcuterie board afterwards. my cup feels full, like the well is being filled. I feel that I'm able to draw, speaking of polymath, like from those different experiences and to feel really very quite edified by them. So do not limit yourself. Don't be one thing. You are everything. You contain multitudes. I was telling a friend this story and he was like, inside me there are two wolves. And that we really connected in that moment because I'm always thinking to myself, inside me there are two wolves. Like, I don't even know where that quote is from. I don't know where I got it from, but it sticks with me. Oh, just remembered a quote for the polymath section. I got this from the polymath book. We typically say, there's the saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none. But the expanded saying is actually, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but is better than a master of one. Sit with that. Sit with that. Sit with that. Okay, great. And that was a creative corner. All right, we've reached the end of the show. What a journey, what a time. I'm so grateful, I'm so happy. I need a martini, I need a Bloody Mary, I have so much work to do after this. I'm not even thinking about that because we've moved into the favorite things segment. Yay, favorite things. All right. One of my favorite things off the bat, I'm going to say, is missing. I addressed it in the cold open, and I'm so sorry. I don't really know how this happened. I'm like, is it in these drawers? No. It's not. I am legitimately shocked by how it just disappeared. Because I had and it was gone. But it was a pen. It was a pen that I got from my local stationery store that I love, called The Stationer on Vanderbilt in Prospect Heights. Shout out to Haya, who owns the store. Because I was there one time, it was like a year ago maybe, and I think the store had just opened, but we were just talking about pens, and I don't know who brought it up, but there was a guy in the store. I think maybe she was like, oh, I was trying to reach out to Muji to get their pens, and they didn't respond or something like that. But then he was like, oh, I used to work for Muji, I know where they get their pens from. So then she was able to source direct, cut out the middleman. What is it? Cut out the dealer, get to the supplier. Is that from 21 Jump Street? Find the dealer, infiltrate the dealer, find the supplier. I think that's a quote. Infiltrate the dealer, find the supplier. I think that's a quote. Anyway, she was able to do that and get these Muji pens that I think are honestly better than the Muji pens. I think it's through the... Okay, Muji, don't sue me. Muji in no way is affiliated. We love Muji. I'm here for Muji. I'm Muji's... I shouldn't just be throwing Muji's name around. But the point is that it's these pens that I really love that I wish I had and I could show you because I don't. Moving on. The next one is actually also a stationary purchase. It's a notebook. So I used to be a really big fan of the Leuchtturm 1917 soft cover notebooks. As you can see, they're bendy, the cover is soft, they're supple, they're luxurious. Something about them just felt more you know what I mean? It's soft. I like to, I want to be soft, it's soft. All of my books, truly almost every single book, bears the mark of Mimi, which is her eating them. Her just being like, oh, what's this? What's this? I like this. I want more of this. I don't even care anymore. I used to be really upset by the fact that everything I own has bite marks on it, but now that just is what it is. It's what it is, and it's what it's gonna be. Point being, I filled up this notebook, which was I've had a couple of these soft covers, and I went into the store to get another one. I wanted a green one, but as I was perusing them, I noticed that the hardcover version was almost twice as big as the softcover version. And so I bring them to the counter and I say, how much is the hardcover? $26, she says. well, how much is the soft cover? $24, she says. I said, well, damn, for twice as many pages, I think it does make sense for me to get the hardcover. And I thought I wouldn't like it because I like the idea of the soft cover, but dare I say, it's like a better, more structurally sound notebook, and it's much more economical, and why did they do that? I don't understand why they did that. So anyway, this is my new favorite thing. I love the color. I will note I am very particular about my notebooks being blank paper, okay? I do not like lined paper. I don't want to feel constricted. I don't want to feel boxed. Don't put me in a box. Don't tell me where to write my words. Let me be able to write. Let me be able to draw. Let me be able to write. Sometimes if I'm feeling like I need just like a different way of being, I'll write this way instead of this way, okay? Because let me do what I want, because I'm grown. Because I do whatever I want. So, yeah. This is favorite things number 2. Favorite thing number 3 are the Weeknd's, if you consider the trilogy as his first album, which I am for the purposes of the following discussion, dialectic, his second, third, and fourth albums, them being Kissland, Beauty Behind the Madness, and Starboy. I cannot stop listening to those albums. Like, something has taken over me. They're the only things that my ears will even take in right now. Like, Kissland, like, Professional, like, The Town, like, those songs are, like, injected into me right now. Beauty Behind the Madness has, I think, one of our modern masterpieces song-wise, which is the song Often. I think that we played it way too much, but I think if anyone was a fan of that song, overplayed it, and now hasn't heard it for a couple years, play it again, preferably in, like, a headphone environment where you can listen to, like, all of the, like, the depth of the sound and just, like, have a transcendent moment. Like, be transported back to when things made sense. Tell Your Friends, life-changing for me. Losers, everything for me. Me being in school, me being a sophomore in college, being like, only losers go to school. Like, that was me, and I felt that, and I might still stand by that. I went to school. I also went to school. But, like, but you know what I mean? I said, like, acquainted, like, that, just, like, everything about it, and then Starboy, and honestly, that was kind of when I stopped listening to The Weeknd, and I don't know why, like, I feel myself wanting to re-engage with his discography. I do just think that he went in, like, a more pop way that wasn't necessarily what I was a fan of, though I respect creativity in all forms, and his massive success, and him being, like, the #1 artist that everyone listens to at a point in time, like at one point, I don't know if he still is, but at one point definitely was in that #1 spot. I think Bad Bunny might be there now. Which was wild, coming off of just, like, trilogy vibes. But, very, like he was making just, like, homeless, like, drugs music. Which I was vibing with, but it's, like, to go from that to being, like, the #1 pop artist, very, like, with, like, an angelic Michael Jackson type voice. Love that for him. Did see Hurry Up Tomorrow. Truly the biggest waste of my time. Like, it was just so bad, but, like, not even, like, in a emeritus way. Like, not, like, Emilia Perez, like, was bad, but it really swung for the fences in a way that I do think it actually became an important piece of art, and Hurry Up Tomorrow is not that. But Starboy, Party Monster, I don't know, if anyone is my generation, I'm 29, if anyone is in that sort of, like, zillennial age bracket, like, you know what I mean, and those songs mean a lot to us because they came out at quite transformative, pivotal, spongy times in our lives, when you are the most sponge-like, when you're just able to really soak things in and things, like, imprint on you. It's like Bedrock, like the song Bedrock. Like, I remember where I was when Bedrock came out because I'd been a fan of Degrassi, and then now there's this song, and there's Nicki Minaj putting pee on sideburns, and it's me, however old I am, like, putting, like, thigh-high socks on that I bought at Target, like, prancing around my room, being like, yeah. So those are my 3 favorite things. Guys, thank you so much. This has been great. Every time I record, especially now that I have, like, an actual setup and, like, an actual, like, flow, okay, and an actual producer, shout out Tammy. I just have I think great things are in store for us. What are your projects? What are you working on? What are you interested in? What do you want to know more about? Please comment below and subscribe. we're just beginning. You're getting in on the ground floor, which is just such an amazing place to be. You know what I mean? How lucky are we all to be at the beginning? So much potential. There's just so much. Like, there's, you know what I mean? In the beginning. Speaking of the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. Okay. No blasphemy. No blasphemy. No blasphemy. Okay. Love you. Bye.